to Digital Shifts, also known as Corporate Evolution Tales. Join us as we dive into the dynamic world of digital transformation. From illuminating case studies to captivating narratives, we uncover the stories behind companies' journeys toward digital excellence. Whether you are a seasoned corporate leader or an aspiring innovator, our podcast explores the shifts, challenges of modern business evolution. Hello, everyone. This is another episode of Digital Shifts, aka Corporate Evolution Tales, and today my guest is Jim Harris. Hello, Jim. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Okay. Before we will dive into digital transformation, can you please introduce yourself, your experience, and anything that will be interesting for our audience?
Yeah, I'm a senior account executive on the sales side with Western Computer. We focus on the Microsoft ERP platforms that give us a lot of visibility to the data that companies run on and the transformation that they're trying to make. And there's a lot of that going towards the AI components that are being built in. And my specialty is food and beverage. So I've been in the space for about 25 years, focused on delivering solutions for folks out in the field, delivering food, beverages, and manufacturing those products as well.
Amazing. Okay, I think we'll have a great discussion actually, and a great topic to discuss. As you mentioned, some of the buzzwords that we have right now running all over the world. So, from the beginning, I think what we can discuss is generally how you understand and what you see under digital transformation. So, what is digital transformation for you?
I think there's a lot of push to get things out of. I mean, be honest with you, food and beverage is usually behind, so paper is a big problem. Excel
Hmm.
spreadsheets, although a little closer to digital, but it's not really in the systems. We're seeing more interest in going cloud on their core systems and getting all the benefits of that. But it's a lot. There's a lot of change going on, and there's a lot of folks trying to figure out what level of change their teams can handle.
And do you think that when we are speaking about digitalization, is it generally something directly related to automation, or it's more about like other understanding of it, any improvements that can be done without even automating stuff?
Automation's a big part of it. I mean, there's a lot of manual. I think the hardest part on this, Miriam, is email, which is great, Excel, which is great. A lot of companies rely a significant amount of their processes on those two platforms. And there's just so many things that can go wrong. I mean, people are overwhelmed by their
Mhm.
emails, spreadsheets are difficult. But people have relied on them for years, so it's hard to break those habits.
And when speaking about this digitalization, I think a lot of people are afraid of it. And as you mentioned, like about the people and how they're used to stuff, do you think what is most important for successful digitalization, or like for improving the processes, even with like the spreadsheets and all that stuff, for when it is related to people?
I mean, it's all about change management from the top.
Hmm.
The organization have to be committed to change. And that's often a problem because a lot of the senior members of organizations are old school. They don't really like technology that much. So they
Yeah.
have less interest in pushing that. So what I found too is like you can push, but if your team gives resistance and you don't push back, they'll just keep going. Well, if I just don't do it, no one's gonna a year from now
Hmm.
doing it. So there's a lot of that going on. It's also too, framing what the job's going to look like when these
Hmm.
changes happen. People are always afraid that, hey, if I don't do this thing that's important to the business, and that's not part of my job, what am I going to be doing? And you have to like
Hmm.
show here's what's next. But there's
Yeah.
usually a few change agents within any organization that are at different levels that see how inefficient they get really frustrated. Like, why are we doing it this way for so many years? They'll start pushing it. So hopefully you can empower them to bring that along and also help the rest of the team do it as well.
Yeah, agree. And do you think there are specific stages of how we are digitalizing? Is there anything we should start with, anything that we are doing at the end, or it's just very specific to the company?
I think just simply mapping your current processes. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
you get an order comes in. Where does the order go? Who touches the order? How does it get to be fulfilled? How does it get customer pay? Map those
Mm-hmm.
out. Think and I've done this a lot with different companies over the years. You have to do that in like multiple meetings because the first meeting, like, oh, it's just these 5 boxes. And then the next meeting is like, well, if this happens, then there's another little workflow. And if this happens, or not, pretty soon there's like a whole bunch of boxes. And it's so, there's so many exceptions that a lot of times upper management doesn't even understand how many different touch points can can get involved and slow things down and impact the customer. So I think a lot of it is like look at the customer, customer's places in order.
Yeah.
What's their journey going to look like? How are you going to speed it up? The good thing is like companies like Amazon, which has been amazing at making deliveries quickly and
Hmm.
just getting faster and then telling you where your delivery is, have really changed expectations on the consumer side. So now you go to business like,
Right.
how does it take 5 days for us to deliver something and not have information being sent to the customer automatically? That doesn't. So I think a lot of people are seeing in my personal life, I'm using these apps for delivery. I'm using these tools to make my personal life better. How come I can't apply those same tools,
Hmm.
same idea to my business life?
I see. Yeah, definitely makes sense. And do you think when we are speaking about this digitalization and the phases, is there any specific way how we can understand what stage can be improved? Is there any way that we can identify those gaps that can be filled in with digitalization?
I think once you put it on a map and people really see all the different steps that happen, let's say
Mm-hmm.
ordering, or let's say you're purchasing products and you have to buy it from a vendor, you have to have it shipped, you have to warehouse it, you have to go through all those processes. I think once people map those out, they say, "Oh wow, this is we put this in 20 years ago because we had this problem. We don't have that problem anymore. We can eliminate that step." And that's the quickest
Mm-hmm.
way. It's just cut out things that you are doing that were put in probably for good reasons years ago, but never got re-looked at to see if they still added value.
Yeah, I think generally, sometimes even with digitalization, we try to improve, but we are never coming back to the change to check if it still works or it needs additional improvement. For some of us, usually even forget that we need to follow up on the stuff and to check if it's really something that helped or there should be other stuff changed. And when speaking about these changes, are there any challenges that are coming to your mind as like very common ones when we are speaking about digital transformation based on your experience?
I think the companies that do it best are obsessed with their customer satisfaction of doing business with them. If you frame it all about the customer and delivering value and continue to deliver a higher value than your competitors, it's pretty easy to align the organization that way. I think if you focus on that, if you don't do that, people look at more of their jobs and those more
Hmm.
small things. But if you say, hey, as an organization, we have to get better with our customers to keep these customers, to grow our customer base. So here's the things we're doing. I think if you frame it that way, you get a lot more alignment.
Hmm.
And then when you start mapping out your process, you can see like, well, that just added a half a day or a day to the process. That's not good for the customer. How do we cut that out? And then I think that's the only framework that stands up over time.
Yeah, agree. And even with these challenges, do you have any lessons learned from your experience that will help, for example, other companies similar to yours that can be basically shared as something that can help them with their digital transformation?
I mean, I think it's all about the resistance to change. There will be,
Uh-huh.
there's people that love change, people that hate change, and everybody in the middle. I think if you, as a leader, if you underestimate that, because if you don't stay on top of the new procedures to make sure they're being followed and make sure no subsets of those procedures start showing up,
Yeah.
it's really up to you to really watch it closely to make sure you have measurements in place to really track it. Because people will slip back into habits, they will not
Uh-huh.
take ownership. Like there's a lot of negatives that come from that, but there's a lot of positives you give them if you empower them to make the process better, and then you reward them for following through on it.
Yeah, agree. I think so many of my guests actually are mentioning about the resistance. It's coming to me as something that is done by default when we are speaking about digital transformation, that employees and generally the companies, they always have this resistance to the change generally. And when we are speaking specifically about the digital shift, which is something that a lot of people don't understand, or they think it's something that is replacing them because of like how it's improving the process. So I think that fear is something that, as you mentioned, need to be communicated so it's easier to make this change, right? And you mentioned about AI, and sometimes some of us are relating or connecting the AI and generally that world with digital transformation. Is it something that you are connecting? Do you think that AI is actually helping when we are speaking about digital transformation?
Yeah, of course. I mean, It makes so many processes easier, faster. It makes brainstorming easier, checking doc. There's so many benefits to make for accuracy and improvement.
Hmm.
There's so many it's an unlimited number of use cases that are being used, and it's still going to go. It's going to continue to go forward. You see the trillions of dollars being invested. It's not if this is the world. It's just how fast it's going to go.
Yeah.
So any
But
companies that really is not really trying it,
do you think is it bringing also some risks with it? Because of course, like AI, it's all like very exciting, and I think it's really helping. But there are still, do you think there are still some parts that you would prefer human beings to do rather than like a AI doing it, or it's like you are fully trusting this technology?
I don't think it's either or. I don't think it's human or AI.
Uh-huh.
It's an human supplemented by AI
Yeah.
is the win combination because there's certain things that AI does better. Can look at things. It works 24/7. There's a lot of things that you can use it for.
Mhm.
So it's not if it's going to take over, just how humans interact with it and how quickly people accept it. But I think people are
Mhm.
seeing it more and more when you see the numbers on the number of uses and people just trying it in their personal lives and saying, okay, I can get a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's always some risk on any of these things, but it's one of the key transformations in the history of technologies.
Yeah, yeah.
It's up there
Agree,
with
definitely. Agree. And besides AI, is there any other emerging technology that you think is helping digital transformation based on your experience? Any other tools, platforms, companies that you would suggest to the audience as something that is supporting digital transformation?
I think it's a lot of people are on the Microsoft email platform
Mm-hmm.
and their AI Copilot's been there. That's a great place to start because there's so much benefit of like having the Copilot AI read your emails and suggest better ways to
Yeah.
write the emails and keep track of your track tasks as an employee. And that's the nice thing about Microsoft's AI is it keeps it within your data. You're not sharing data out to the world. So there's a lot of security built in that as well. And that's super helpful. And you can still do the
Mm-hmm.
web search too. But I would say that that's like an easy one to get like a quick benefit from because if you're already using the Microsoft email, since you just to add that in, I know Gmail and other ones have similar things, but like that's an easy one to get started on and it'll show benefit to the employees.
Yeah, yeah, definitely agree. I just started, I think, a few months ago using it. I really, really like it so far. Let's see where it will go. And I think before wrapping up this episode, I would like to ask you about like what you would offer to other companies to take into account when they start their digital transformation journey. What will be your suggestion?
It's all change management. It's mapping your processes, finding who the key people are. It's making sure they're on board, and then again, I think it's all about framing it as a better experience for the customer. And so if you
Hmm.
do that, I think people will frame it that way, not think about their jobs more, think about like what does the customer perceive us to be, and knowing that like the world that let's say using Amazon as an example, that immediate world of answers right away, correct, just the correct pricing, the correct item, lots of selection. Like people just expect that now. So I think you have to live up to those.
Hmm.
You take 2 days to get back to someone. You can't have, you have to have a website that functions correctly, that works on a mobile platform. It doesn't just work on a web browser.
Yes,
Like on
good
like all
point.
things like yeah, you have to just like what is the customer doing? Where are they when they're ordering? Where are they when they're shopping? Like how do I get, better, make it easier to buy
Hmm.
and easier to support them. So I think that's all anybody ever wants these days. So
Yeah.
and companies that resist that are going to have trouble because their competitors are going to move forward.
Agree, definitely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jim. And before we all wrapping up, anything you would like to add to this episode for the audience before we'll end it?
No, I just reach out to me at westerncomputer.com and love to hear about your journey. And if you're looking for a new system based on Microsoft platform, I can definitely help you out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Have a good day.
Cheers.